Doug, this is the latest, isn't it, in a series of coups for Guinea? Not so recently, but there have been many of them, haven't there?
Yeah, it's serial coup attempts in Guinea. And, it's been plagued for much of its history. You say the latest. There have been three real coups, including the latest one, right? 1984, 2008, and now this. There was an attempted coup in 1996. And in each case, this is the first time where a coup was actually taken over and deposed a sitting president. In other cases, the president already died, had a heart attack, and there was sort of a military figure who came to the fore and sort of rose up and then took over the political scene. What we're seeing, in Guinea is also emblematic of what we're seeing across the region. But the problem is with Alpha Condé, you need to sort of emphasize this was a president. He's 83 years old now. He was hailed once as the first democratically elected, this is the term you often hear with him, democratically elected president of Guinea. He was elected back in 2010. This was his third term, but it was, of all of his time in office, the most controversial and contested term. He was reelected, and that comes with a lot of caveats. Last year, he became president third term in November, after previously holding a referendum to basically to modify the country's constitution. To do what? To basically enable him, or presumably any future president, to hold on another 2 terms. Technically, under the constitutional revision that he pushed through in March of 2020, him being 83 now, if he were to remain 2 more terms in power, he'd be 94 years old when he left office. So he came to office very unpopular in this third term. And even though in the past he had been seen as a democratizer, someone who really had the country's best interest at heart, in more recent years, and especially since his reelection, which was boycotted by the opposition, he's been seen as a man more interested in his own self-enrichment, taking advantage of entrenching himself in power, extending his own rule at the expense of the people in a country which is potentially one of the richest in Africa, with a lot of bauxite and iron ore and gold and diamond wealth, centralizing power around himself, his cult of personality, his own person, his clan. And really that's where it came down to. With COVID mismanagement, add that in, and it's all a recipe for a very unpopular president.
And Guinea is not alone in this, is it? There have been many, many other coups across the wider region as well.
Yeah, we could put a number to that, right? Many other 2 American researchers say it's over 200 coups. Yes, 200. Since the late 1950s, when you saw a wave of independence movements sweeping Africa. What's interesting here is only about half of those coups have actually been deemed what you could say successful. And how do you deem success? Lasting 7 days or more. Still a lot of coups, right? 100 or more. But look, and the West African region has really, in recent months, also raised a lot of alarm bells among outsiders looking in and insiders. Why? Increasing instability. You saw Chad. The president was killed in a battle against insurgents advancing on his own power. His son taking over, seen as a sort of dynastic coup. In Mali, you had 2 coups in the span of 9 months, armed military person taking over power there. And this is in a region where you have a lot of instability fed by terrorism and jihadists, and they're battling that. So you have this combination of leaders, often aging older leaders, trying to entrench their own power, trying to cling on to power, already with weakening economies, really bad economies, with the people being hit hardest, even though we keep saying these are some very potentially rich countries. The people aren't seeing that wealth. All the people see is what they think is corruption, an enriched elite class, political leaders that don't really have their interests at heart, and amid it all, you have those terror threats. It's all a recipe for disaster. And this is why in West Africa, especially right now, you hear something like Guinea, you see the headlines and you roll your eyes and say another coup in another West African country, in another African country. But you know what? It is serious because it adds up to a real challenge for democratic governance in these countries. How do you inculcate a culture where the leaders really will have the best interests of the people at heart?
Our international affairs commentator Doug Herbert on France 24. Thanks.